Dear students, welcome to my classroom of research methodology in history. Today I will be going to give you some ideas on qualitative and quantitative methods in research. So first I would like to start with a definition of research. What is research for you? For me, research is something through which we can satisfy our quest for knowledge, and we can be inquisitive, and that inquisitiveness should be productive, should be constructive, and with our research findings, we can not only enrich ourselves and also the academia, we can also contribute for the betterment of the society. Research is something through which we can serve humanity. Research is something which is religious because we are doing for the good of others. We are the human beings. We are the greatest animals of the world. How can we prove our worth? How can we prove our potentials? How can we claim that what we are doing, that is perhaps creating a legacy for the future generations to follow? We need to spread the message of love, peace, harmony, and most important of all, like to respect each other, to create a kind of coexistence or commonness which has to be peaceful. For that, we need a society where everyone should get equal rights and opportunities. Everyone should be a part of the holistic development through which we can have men and women for others. That means to serve the humanity, to serve others, to fulfill our duties and obligations as the human beings or the children of God, we need to be researchers or explorers. It is not only in the field of science, but also in the field of humanities and social sciences. Research is needed through which we can decipher or decode the existing methods and formulas which are important to know the society, and also we can add some more insights with this regard to make the existing ones more useful and productive. Through our researches, we can appeal to the administrators to change their policies for more good or for more better standard of living, or to have a more composite policy of development. Development has various meanings. Development means holistic development that I have already mentioned. Development means also sustainable development, and that development is something which we can attain through research. That means with new findings, with new observations, with new discoveries, we can make our lives more minimalistic, more eco-friendly, more prone to sustainable development, and more calm and happy. We should not always be the slaves of capitalism. Rather, we should try to imbibe the principles of scientific socialism so that we will be able to create a classless society. With all these positive notes, I would like to begin my lecture today. If I talk on research, that I have already tried to define research from my own perceptions, but definitely you have your own ideas on research. Let's see what others think about research. According to some, research is a process of steps used to collect and analyze information in order to increase our understanding of a topic or issue. Here we find a more, what I can say, scientific definition of research, where we are emphasizing on the collection of data and materials and also data analysis. Definitely, if we would like to decode research from the scientific manner, then our approach has to be more objective. But what I feel that in research we should have more subjective and objective ways, so that research should not be mechanical or artificial. The next point which I would like to emphasize with this regard, that is problems with research today. That what are the problems that we face? The most important issue with this regard, according to my understanding, that sometimes we produce faulty data, or we get faulty data, and the data analysis which we used to do on the basis of those faulty data are proved to be erroneous. The next point I must want to highlight, that sometimes we do not follow ethics, and we used to take materials or findings from other researchers without acknowledging them. This is called plagiarism. One point which is also important with this regard, as per my understanding, that yes, I have talked about the faulty data, but it's not always possible for us to access the data which are authentic. If we give you the example of the third world countries, it's not possible for us always to reach the people who are marginalized or belonging to the section of the society which is very poor. And here we find that we need to appeal to the state to have more flexible policies so that we can reach everyone and can get the adequate data. I can give you one example. If anyone wants to do a research on what happened with regard to the primary education during COVID-19, then he or she needs to do a lot of work. Unfortunately, in many of the interior villages of my state, West Bengal, many schools got closed, primary schools, got closed during the COVID-19 days. So we are not in a position to have data from those schools with regard to their students and how the students are doing now. So this is something, a lacuna or a limitation which is perhaps needed to be recognized in terms of state policies. Here we have to be more productive and have to be more, what I can say, active with regard to our stance and also how we can approach to the government. So one more thing like that, what I want to mention, that sometimes the researchers are not that much specific about what they want from their research. I'm talking about like how they face problem with their hypothesis. They lack proper argumentation, they lack proper research design, and they come with improper or inaccurate research findings. This is not a case that much pertinent with science, but definitely in social sciences, sometimes we find that researchers are not that much confident with their research findings. Here we need to train them scientifically. That's why we have research methodology as one of the branches of knowledge. That where we are trying to orient the researchers with the nitty-gritty of research, that how they can do research, how they can make their research accurate, scientific, and definitely which would be beneficial for the betterment of the society. With these points, I would like to give you more exposure to the ways of research which we can follow. See, first, I would like to highlight on a point which is very important. That is the process of research. How you are processing research. As I have already told you, the definition of research. Now it's time to have an experience of research, a hand-on experience of research. Though in a virtual classroom it's a bit difficult, but still we can have an attempt. You will get more information about this topic from my PPT and academic script. But I feel interaction is very much important to the students from all over India. That's why I always prefer to have informal interactions in my classroom. If I go with the process of research, then we need to identify the research problem. That means, why are you intending to have research on a particular topic? It is also your hypothesis. Next, is important in that regard is how you are reviewing or how you are analyzing the literature which are already existed according to your theme, and you need to review or you need to see them again so that you will be able to get a more clear idea about your hypothesis. Suppose if anyone wants to have research on Rabindranath Tagore's writings, then that person has to read not only the writings of Rabindranath, also the articles and the books which are already there by the authors or researchers on the writings of Rabindranath. So here I must say that we need to follow a pattern so that we can have productive research. If I would go for the third point in my lecture, that would be like after reviewing or after having the review or the reading of the existing literature, we need to give emphasis or we need to give more attention with regard to the specificity of our research problem. That means here you need to customize your hypothesis because already you have got an idea of what are there and how you can have an unique approach with this regard, excluding the findings of the others which are already published and you have an access over them. It's not like that your research has to be repetitive. Your research has to be unique. It has to be original and different from others. That's why you are trying to know what are there about a particular topic. With this kind of intention, now it's the time to collect data. That what data you are collecting with a specific objective. Now you are very much focused. In research, we always give emphasis on being focused and being specific or to the point. Next, data analysis, like what you have received or collected. It's the time for you now to analyze those data with your objective and subjective interpretations. And finally, you can make a research report along with your research findings. So this is a basic formula of doing research, which is more scientific. Now with this notes, I would like to give you some ideas about qualitative research. What is qualitative research? That when we are having research in social sciences, that is called qualitative research. Because here we are having empirical research based on literature review. We are visiting various libraries and archives to collect data, and we are also applying some scientific methods. But in qualitative research, we have to give emphasis on subjective interpretation, because science and history, definitely they have some correlations, but history cannot be science. In history, we can also achieve priori, that is the ultimate truth. That is also a part of philosophy of history. But history cannot be 100% accurate like science. Because in history, we are dealing with the human minds. In your laboratory, you are dissecting the human minds, not the guinea pigs. So from that point of view, you are having your own ideas and perceptions, which are not always following science or scientific methods. Humans are emotional. Humans are not like the robots. So there is a difference between machine and human minds. So the data which you are analyzing with the help of the machines might be helpful for scientific investigations. But when you are trying to know the socio-economic parameters of any particular incident along with its cultural implications, then the data analysis which you are having should not be that much mechanized, and they should have the reflections which are subjective, because you are dealing with the people who belong from the society, and they have their own ideas, emotions, feelings, and they are the slaves of their instincts as well. Sun rises in the east, sets in the west. So this is something where we are finding an objective truth. It's a priori. Here we are not in a position to change that what we witness and what is going on. But if I give you the example of historiography, where we find various trends, like how the subalterns, they describe history, how the Marxists, they talked history, how the Aligarh School of Historians, they tried to impress us with their insights about medieval Indian history, or how the Cambridge School of Historians, they talked about the events which took place in the first phase of the politics which we saw in India in the form of Indian National Congress, or how the nationalist historians, they tried to glorify the political leaders of Indian freedom struggle. All of them, they have their own stories, their own views, their own ideas. These are the reflections of qualitative method of history writing or historiography. Here we cannot have similar kind of ideas or perceptions because all the humans are individuals. It's not possible for us to superimpose our ideas on them and to have a kind of commonness with regard to their reciprocation towards the society. Here I would like to say something about how I feel that I can make a contrast or a comparison between the political ideas of Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore to give you an idea about how we can pursue qualitative research. I must say that Rabindranath, in his one of the writings which is known as Rakta Korobi, he talked about the negative effects of mechanization or of the civilization which is based on capitalism. On the other hand, Gandhi in his Hind Swaraj also talked about the negativities of the Western world, especially based on mechanism or which is giving more emphasis on machines. But Rabindranath, in spite of criticizing the artificial or the civilization which is based on machines, he also appreciated the facts that we can gather knowledge from the Western world to make ourselves more enlightened. But here, Gandhi had a different opinion. He was not in favor of Western civilization from any perspective. Rather, he thought that only if we can go back to our roots. So the way I have defined the views of Gandhi and Rabindranath is the example of qualitative research, where I am not only dealing with the information, I am also trying to analyze their psyche or their mentality. That's why qualitative research is subjective and also objective, but we cannot omit subjectivity like science. Then I am giving you an example of quantitative research methods. Quantitative research methods are giving emphasis on quantify or on numbers so that whatever data we are getting, those have to be judged in the light of statistics, and also we can have various charts with the help of the scientists to show the growth or the demotion of anything where numbers are very much important. Suppose if I would like to know the status of literacy in our country with the help of the data which we have in NFHS, that means which we have through National Family Health Surveys, then after analyzing those data, if I would like to know the ratio of the literate and illiterate persons in our country, gender-wise, then I have to quantify my entire research design so that through various Venn diagrams, pie charts and others, I can give exact number of the people who are literate and who are not. So this is an example of quantitative research. Now you can ask me, can we have a qualitative research with this regard, like the status of literacy in our country? If we would like to know the socio-economic parameters with regard to the literacy in our country, then we will be able to find out a subjective approach as well. like that what are preventing the number of people, if we have specified it already through our quantitative method, not go for education or not accepting education. What is the reason which is preventing them for taking education or to going to the schools? Definitely where we can also imply certain subjective methods as well, that it is not only regarding their willingness, but sometimes economy is a fact which is also a part of their societal presence. Like perhaps in a family, women are not allowed to go outside to do work so that they could be able to earn the livelihood. Perhaps that is making the economic stance of that particular family miserable. So they are not in a position to afford education for their kids. Because in this age of neo-capitalism, the things or our daily life is very much expensive, and every day it is getting more expensive after the COVID-19 days. So by this way, we can have both qualitative and quantitative research approaches together. So if I would like to finish the lecture today, then what I have done, I have given you a definition of research and also how we can have qualitative and quantitative researches. What are the features of qualitative and quantitative researches, which I have explained in a simple manner, because I believe that first I need to give a simple exposure of the topic to our students so that they might feel interested. Gradually, you will be able to know the various intricacies of a particular topic or subject. But the basic approach has to be less difficult for your better understanding. Then I discussed like how we can apply both these approaches together. I have given you an example that if anyone is interested to do a research on the literacy rate in our country, then how we can have the quantitative approach and how we can have the qualitative approach with this regard, and how can we have both these approaches together to have a more fruitful and constructive research. I would like to say that yes, in social sciences we give emphasis on qualitative methods, and in sciences or in the various branches of science we give emphasis on quantitative methods, but there is no harm to have interdisciplinary approaches where we can have qualitative and quantitative methods. If we are doing a research on science, there also we can have qualitative approach. I hope the students liked my lecture and definitely will try to do experiments with this regard. Thank you.